My name is Stacey Lumadi. I graduated in the year 2022, and since then I've not been employed. I understand the meaning of tarmacking. Currently pursuing Masters of Development in the University of Nairobi. And my question is on Kazi ya Maju. It's a good initiative, especially when you're looking at remittance impact on the economy. But there is a high processing fee for jobs, be it Qatar, be it Europe. Are there plans to initiate costs for those getting jobs, even if it's providing loans?
Thank you very much, Ms. Lumadi. Alfred, you are the owner of that space.
That's a very good question. You see, the whole essence of jobs overseas are for you to be able to live here and go get a good job. Now, there are two kinds of jobs. There are two kinds of offers, mostly. There are companies that say, we want nurses, for example, or we want teachers, or we want riders, or we want ICT specialists. And we will pay for the preparation of those candidates to come to our country. We will pay their medical fee, we will pay their air transport, we will pay money for them to do the necessary tests they need to do, attestation, and all that. And they pay for everything, and the agency that gets a job will probably charge you maybe 10 or 20,000 for their processing fee, or will actually be paid by those companies a service fee, so they don't have to charge you anything. And those are now 100% what quote unquote free. Those are fine in between. Then there are others who say, for example, in Australia, who say they want nurses. They can take our nurses from medical training college who have diplomas, because they're not allowed to work as nurses in hospitals. They can work in nurses at aged care, making approximately 500,000 shillings a month. But before they go, they have to do certain exams that the Australian government wants them to do. And if you add up the exams, including English test, it comes to over 100,000 shillings. Then they have to pay their ticket to Australia, about $1,500. And then they have to pay etc. So you find that if you want to go to Australia, the Australians say, we want you here, but we're not going to pay for you to get here. You get here, we'll give you the job. And they give you the job before you get there. So when you get there, but then now you have to come up with 250,000 shillings. So you don't have to go, but if you choose to go, then you realize how much you have to pay. Now what we have done is that I have had meetings with financial institutions, and I've asked them, can you provide a facility to our young people who don't have money to go overseas, and they pay these fees for their ticket, etc., etc. And they said yes, but we need surety. I said, I'll write you a letter. They said no, because what has happened in the past is that a Kenyan will get a loan. As soon as they get inside the plane, they block the person who gave them the money, and they don't pay back. So they have had that history. So I have told them, you can't ask for a title deed for somebody who lives in a slum, or who lives in towns where the fathers don't have, the parents don't have a farm or something, or they don't have a car. So we have agreed that they can come to your house and they can look at what you have, what your mother or father has. Uko na TV moja, uko na couch moja, and then they can cost it, and they say, we're going to give you a loan on this as a guarantor. So that now, if you don't pay the loan, they take your mother's bed. So that will actually will help you actually process the loan. So we are trying many ways, and as the president has said, with the BLAs, we are pushing for companies that are actually pay for some of the costs, especially the cost of air transport, which are usually very high.
Thank you. I think we have something else. Can PS SME say something? I think we have another ecosystem over here.
Thank you, Your Excellency. In our ecosystem of MSME, we have Youth Enterprise Fund. And the Youth Enterprise Fund have a migration loan, labor migration loan. And the figures I have, they have processed so far 78 million and supported 354 young people. So this is available, but we are trying to see how do we even expand that ecosystem. Also urging our other agencies like Uwezo Fund So our other agencies like Uwezo Fund, also to introduce that financial product so that we get to support you, to facilitate you, also to leave something behind to your family, because that is always a challenge. Thank you.
Yes. So as you have heard, it comes all the way from jobs that everything is paid for, including air tickets, to a situation where nothing is paid for. And there are all manner of in-betweens. But the CEO of the Youth Fund, Mr. Yes, you remember I had a conversation with you, and he can confirm that he has a financial product. Can you confirm to Lumadi, yes, that indeed under our youth fund there is a product that they can tap into?
Thank you, Your Excellency. Yes, indeed, I confirm that in the youth fund we have a migration loan. The limit for that is 300,000 Kenyan shillings, and so far the statistics are as read by the PS. Yes, I confirm, Your Excellency.
So those of you who are looking for an opportunity, there is an opportunity funded by the government of Kenya, and if there are limitations, I am ready to enhance the budget to them so that we can get more. When he mentioned it to me, I told him that that is a good product, and we agreed that if they get to the limit, we can extend their limit. Okay? All right. Maybe a question from this end.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Excellency. My name's Ezekiel Onyango, but you can call me Easy. I'm currently the chairperson of Kenya Film and Television Professionals Association. Professionally, I'm a researcher in the cultural and creative industries. I have a master's degree from the University of Manchester in that area, and a creative economy expert who has worked globally with organizations like IFC, AU, and the World Conference on the Creative Economy. I stand before you today as someone who has worked for almost 2 decades as a film producer in Kenya and a creative economy practitioner, who was successfully managed to transition into a professional. We stand at a very critical time in our country, and the question of jobs is one that the creative economy can easily respond to. It's only the creative economy in the whole world that...
Easy. Take it easy. Because I was expecting a question from you, but you've given me a lecture, which is good. Because from Manchester, it's good to get some experience. But can you make it brief?
The sweet spot is always in the context, and I have learned from watching the way you have contextualized the conversation today. So I only thought it would be fair for me to put some context before my question, if you allow me, sir. Thank you. Bottom-up policies that promote the growth of talent-driven sectors like ours have been proven to work, especially in the creative economy, as we have witnessed in countries like Indonesia, where in 2023 they reported 4% contribution of GDP, which is equivalent to what the tourism sector has contributed in Kenya. While we appreciate the bottom-up strategy that you have, that has given us the State Department for Youth and Creative Economy, we as the creative industry experts feel like there is a tension where there is a bottom-up strategy but a top-down approach in implementation, where the industry has been left out, and that has left the State Department with systemic inefficiencies, and 2 years in, we are yet to even have a roadmap or a plan of how we can fix our systemic challenges. Before my question, I'll set to you 3 important areas that we need to address urgently as a country for the creative economy to respond. Number 1 is outdated policy frameworks, the case of old laws trying to tackle new problems. Number 2 is intellectual property. To every creative person, that is our title deed. That is our bargaining power. When IP is not protected, then we have nothing. And number 3 is the problem of piracy. the small endemic that has injured Kenya and no one speaks about. I can be able to demonstrate that in one financial year, Kenya loses close to 92 billion shillings because of piracy, both to government and industry. To my question, how does your administration plan, through the State Department, to resolve these issues inclusively, decisively, and set up a ground where these creative economies can grow and respond to job creation? Why I ask this question is, if we are not careful, there will come a time very soon where all the commerce that happens in the creative industry will happen overseas. Production will happen locally, consumption will happen locally, but the platforms in which we do our commerce will all be abroad. So what strategies can we put in place to ensure that creative technologies are integrated in the better plan to respond to IP challenges, the problem of piracy, and the problem of outdated policy frameworks? Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, my good friend. I don't have the people from the youth department here, but let me just mention to you that the reason why I made a policy decision that the sports fund, which initially had been spread to cover many things, including building hospitals and building all manner of things, I said that must now stop so that we concentrate the sports fund on matters to do with sports and the creatives. That is policy direction number one. Number two, you have said correctly about outdated laws. It is the thing I was struggling with, even with the BPOs. And it's the reason why on Wednesday we will be signing off to change the law in the employment space around the BPOs. And I agree with you that outdated laws have created a big problem for us. Whether we are talking about what we can do around the film, around the whole creative space. And I remember we had trouble trying to bring on board the Grammys. I remember we had very serious challenges, and I had personally to get involved, for some of these to come on board, on what we can do around the studio and what we can do around that space. And I remember Dennis Itumbi, who I'm sure is somewhere here, pushing me to do certain things. Did you hear what that good man said? And can you help me say some of those things that we agreed that we want, especially on the two subjects of intellectual property and piracy?
So on intellectual property and piracy, sir, Easy has actually been involved in the crafting of the Creative Economy Bill. It is still pending in Parliament, and he's played a good part with his association of coming with that. And that is a key part in that Creative Economy Bill, with a few amendments. And he's in the working group, so in fact the challenge will be back to him to ensure that he helps us to ensure that we get it back and good and going. However, he's raised two key issues, both if you allow me to respond to him. Yes. The first one is on the commerce of the creative economy. The president went to the USA and interacted, including with Hollywood stars at Tyler Perry Studios. And one of the things that the president is now working on is for a space for the creative economy. We all appreciate that Nairobi on Sundays has become an open theater where people actually shoot everything. In fact, ahead of Easy there is a gentleman from Grammy Awards, and there is also something there you are doing around the Grammy Awards for Africa. And you have actually instructed the State Department to pay so that then the Grammy Awards can be hosted in Kenya. There are a few things to unlock, and this gentleman has an appointment with you this week to unlock that part. So on that part of commerce, we are not only interested, but we are actively playing a part on it. Finally, the president has already given instructions, and I've written to you a letter from our Office of Creative Economic Coordination for us to begin bidding for the World Creative Economy Conference in 2027 to become the first African country to bring the world sector here, because that will unlock the entire creative economy. Thank you very much.
Let me help you, Dennis. Actually, the money for Grammys, we already paid. We are not about to pay. We already paid 500 million shillings towards that. And I'm sure the gentleman from Grammys can confirm that that is the direction we are going. And so I think back to you, the motions are going through in Parliament. The creative bill is going through specifically to remove the challenges you have highlighted, to update the law so that we remove outdated legislation, to provide for a sure footing on matters intellectual property, and also to deal with the challenge of piracy. And we couldn't agree with you more. And thank you very much, Izzy, for being part of the solution. By offering your knowledge and expertise to support the development of the bill, that is how we manage to solve problems. Thank you very much. Now, we got lost. We were still on Hustler Fund. We now went to, can I take another 3 questions on Hustler Fund, and then we can move to the jobs? Let me, I don't know. I think, okay, let me be biased. Let's give it to the lady again.
Asante sana, my president. Kwa majina naitwa Esther Mwangi kutoka Makadara, Viwadani, kijiji ya Runga. Nitafanya utofauti, nitaongea kwa lugha ya Kiswahili. Endelea. Asante. Mimi ni mama mboga, mmoja mwenye alifanya kazi kubwa tupate hii serikali. Niko na furaha siku ya leo kupata nafasi ya kuongea na wewe Mr. President. Nashukuru Mungu kwa sababu ni kwa neema yake. Nakushukuru sana na serikali yako Mr. President kwa sababu ya hii nafasi ya kazi. Vijana wetu wamepata kazi na kwa hii kazi ya majuu. Lakini swali yangu siku ya leo, mimi kama mama boga na wengine tuko huko nje, na wengine wenye tumefikisha miaka 46 kwenda juu, hatukupata hii kazi mtahani, na tuja benefit na pesa ya uzee kwa sababu tuko hapo katikati. Sisi wa mama boga wenye tulifanya kazi kubwa kupata hii serikali, wengi wetu tukaacha boma zetu zikaharibika kama yangu, kwa sababu wazee walikuwa wakipigania pande nyingine tofauti. Tulikuwa na shida, mzee wangu alikuwa kwa mrengo mwingine, mimi nilikuwa kwa huu mrengo, na ninashukuru Mungu. Swali yangu siku ya leo Mr. President, nikiwa nimesimama kwa hii congregation, nauliza aje. Mimi mtu akona 46, mama boga, sijapata kazi kwa vijana, sija benefiti kwa pesa ya uzee, sijaenda majuu. Niko wapi kwa hii kazi? Watoto wangu, ukikumbuka wakati ya siasa pale Karen, nilikuambia shosho yangu hakusoma, mama yangu hakusoma, mimi sikusoma. Bado niko huku. Mr. President, najifunia kuwa kwa hii serikali. Na nakupenda sana kama president wangu, mwenye nilipiga magoti sana nikaombea. Sisi mama boga tuko wapi?
Aya.
Tulipoteza familia, tulipoteza mabwana.
Nitakujibu. Asante. Asante sana. Esther. Asante sana Esther. Asante sana Esther. Asante sana Esther. Nitakwambia wewe kama mama mboga mambo matano. Si ndio? Kwa sababu wewe uko na mtoto. Si ndio? Si uko na watoto? Umebarikiwa na Mungu, uko na watoto. So kama wewe hujapata kazi, ujipange ndio mtoto wako tupangane na yeye apate kazi. Si namna hiyo? Mtu wako hapo utapangana na yeye. Ako hapo. That is number one. Number two, unajua tulikubaliana ya kwamba mama mboga pia atafanya kazi mahali kuna heshima. Tutahakikisha tutajenga soko. Tuhakikisha kwamba kina mama mboga wanafanya kazi. As I talk to you, nikiongea na wewe, tunajenga saa hizi soko 200 Kenya ya kina mama mboga. And most of them are actually in the process of completion. In fact, nitauliza governor wa Nairobi, kwa sababu si unatoka Nairobi? Nitauliza governor wa Nairobi aniambie mahali tuko kwa hiyo mpango yetu ya soko. Ngoja kidogo Senator, Governor Sakaja, just you know, so number one. So wewe uko hapo, utafanya kazi mahali kuna heshima. Number 3, katika mpango yetu ya afya, mama mboga hakuwa kwa mpango ya afya, kwa sababu NHIF ilikuwa ni number 1, watu wenye wanafanya kazi. Number 2, watu wenye wako na uwezo. Lakini sasa kwa hii mpango ambayo tuko nayo ya Taifa Care, wewe Esther, sasa uko na nafasi ya kuwa na bima ya afya as a person. Hii Taifa Care ina recognize mama mboga, na kwamba wewe pia sasa utakuwa na nafasi ya kuwa na bima ya afya. Utaenda hospitali, mtoto wako atatibiwa na hakuna malipo yoyote utalipa. Hiyo ni number 3. Sawa sawa. Number 4. Najaribu kupanga mahali huko kwa hii mpango hii. Number 4. Pale katika mpango ya housing, kwa sababu umeniambia mahali unaishi, si ndio? Pale kwa muda mrefu nyumba haina maji, nyumba haina choo, hakuna stima, hakuna barabara. Katika mpango yetu ya affordable housing, na umesikia ule jamaa wa affordable housing aliongea hapa. Did somebody speak about affordable housing here? No, we're going to talk about it. I know there is somebody from affordable housing. Sasa wewe kama mama mboga uko na nafasi ukijiandikisha kwa boma yangu. Sasa wewe utakuwa na nafasi ya kuwa home owner. Hapo nyuma ilikuwa ili upate nyumba lazima uwe tayari kulipa 20,000, 30,000, 50,000. Lakini kwa hii Nairobi sasa utapata nafasi ya kuwa mwenye nyumba, na kati ya shilingi 3,000 ama shilingi 5,000 yenye utalipa kila mwezi under our affordable housing program. Kwa sababu tumesema we want to make home ownership, dignify our people with home ownership. Now mama mboga kama wewe anaweza kuwa na nyumba yake, sio ya kukodesha, nyumba yake ambaye ataishi na iwe yake kwa kulipa pesa kidogo. So these are some of the things we are doing to make sure that we cover everybody. Yeah. So those are among the things I can tell you as we go forward. We have, I'm told it is going to 9. We have only 5 minutes of this. Let me take a question from that young man. And just one question, eh?
Yeah.
And then this side, one question. Yeah, this gentleman. Okay.
Good evening. My name is Peter Ogutu, a student at the Technical University of Kenya.
Yes, Peter.
I have a question to you, Mr. President. Recently, we witnessed a move by the Cabinet Secretary, Dr. Alfred Mutua, where he facilitated the exportation of Kenyan skilled energetic labor to external markets for job opportunities. A good move that we appreciate, but doesn't that move leave the Kenyan economy at a bad place with deprived skilled labor and or stressed skilled labor that cannot meet its potential. A good example is the medical sector, where we have fewer doctors attending to numerous patients, yet these doctors and nurses still form part and parcel of the skilled labor that are being exported to external market for employment. Thank you.
Alfred, do you want to answer that question? It's a very good question from Mr. Ogutu.
The reality is that we are producing more people than we need in the job market. For example, when you look at doctors and nurses, it is not that we do not have enough doctors or nurses being produced. Yes, the numbers are not where we are in terms of United Nations numbers, WHO, of the number per people. It's that we do not have the capacity at this time to absorb all of them. So I see where you're coming up with your point. But I also want to change the mentality where we think that there is what people are thinking of brain drain. What is happening is this. You have, for example, in the ICT sector, a huge number of people that are ready to work, that even if we sent away 100,000 people in ICT, we would still leave this country with so many other people, 500,000, who are still looking for employment. So that thinking that if we are sending people away, we are depriving our country, is not really accurate. Because we have more people out of work who can go and work overseas without depriving our Kenyan local market. In our labor studies, we have not seen any cry by any industry saying that they are lacking people because people have left the country. We are producing people in TVETs, producing people in the universities, so we have a bulge of employment. Your Excellency.
Okay, can you address, there is also one question, Alfred, that people continue to say, are we going through a brain drain? Are we exporting our brain power? Or does it eventually amount to a brain gain? Can you explain that?
What usually happens is this. If you look at the countries that have really developed very fast, you look at, for example, the example of Singapore, China, Malaysia, Indonesia. What they did, these tiger economies, was to ensure that their people who went and worked overseas came back home. We are calling this labor mobility because when you're going to work, it doesn't mean that you're going forever. You're going to work for 2-3 years and come back. What we have realized is that when you go overseas, you're able to gain skills. When His Excellency was in Germany, we were talking about Kenyans going to work to produce the German vehicles. So you go to Germany as an engineer, you produce the vehicles for 2 to 3 years, then you come back home. What happens? You're bringing back new talent. Kenya is actually getting brain gain. You're bringing new ways of doing things. When you talk to the construction industry, for example, construction industry are now looking for people who have worked overseas. If you are a plumber, if you are a mason, if you are an interior designer, and you have worked in Dubai, the big companies working in Kenya want to employ you because your skills are a bit higher than the market, than the population in Kenya that is competing with you for the job market, because you have gained new skills. When you go to the UK as a nurse, you go to the US as a doctor, and you gain new skills in those hospitals that you're working in the US or in Italy and other places. When you come back, you're hot cake because of the brain gain.
Thank you very much. And I think just to buttress that point is that, the people going out, they are going out for short contracts. This is 3 years, maybe 5 years. After that 5 years, they come back home. And when they come back home home with added skills. They have gained experience. They have worked in a different market. And most of the time, you find that they have improved on their skills. So it may look like brain drain, but eventually it becomes brain gain. That's what Alfred is saying. So, good people, it's 9 p.m. and I am told it has to stop. I know many people would have wanted to. But as you are aware, this has become now our way of transacting. So there will be another occasion for us to go through this again. Let me congratulate all of you. Thank you very much for taking time. I know all of us are busy people, for taking time to ask your questions, to seek the intervention, clarification. Thank you very much to all the teams that have participated here this evening. And my very best wishes as we work together towards creating opportunities for young people, for our nation. It will take effort, it will take collaboration. I know Sakaja was supposed to tell us something at the corner. Sakaja, do you want to say anything, or I can leave it there for now? Thank you very much. God bless you. Have a great evening. Asante.
A round of applause for His Excellency as we stand. Thank you very much, Mr. President. At this point, we will request that we remain standing as His Excellency will leave at his own pleasure. Thank you very much once again, Your Excellency, for that great delivery. Thank you, sir.